So, it's been a little while since my last Chappelle Show video dropped about season 2 of Dave's acclaimed sketch comedy series and how it was really the peak of his career in terms of his prime as a great comedian. And the plan from there was to make my finale video all about Chappelle's fall from grace after the Chappelle Show ended to his gradual rise back into the limelight a decade later, and then the very strange and polarizing trajectory that his career has taken since. But that finale video is turning out to be a lot more work than I originally intended, and unfortunately, I'm still nowhere close to being done with it. But in the meantime, I figured I would keep up with a little bit more Chappelle Show content and make a video ranking the best sketches from the show so that I could finally decide once and for all which sketch, in my opinion, is the greatest of all time. I usually do a pretty standard tier list ranking for these kinds of videos, and I actually did make a pretty extensive tier list for this video where I ranked every sketch in the show, but it ended up feeling a little too robotic and definitely way too long and boring. So I wanted to make this video a little different and step outside of the box. So instead of throwing up a tier list maker screenshot and rambling on and on as I painstakingly decide which tier box to put the small corresponding pictures into, I figured I'd just discuss my personal top 10 to 15 sketches of the show and delve into why I hold them in such high regard. And of course, decide once and for all which is the greatest sketch in the history of the Chappelle Show. These are all sketches I consider to be S-tier, best of the best level sketches, the most hilarious and/or memorable and iconic of the show. The sketches that really made the show a worldwide sensation and the beloved classic to this day.
To the 9th annual International Player Haters Ball.
Man, you corny!
Next nigga say something while I'm talking is getting shot. Please believe that.
The first sketch I want to bring up is the Player Haters Ball sketch from season 1. I think this is a perfect jumping off point for the rest of the video because this sketch encapsulates what I love most about the show. It's just a bunch of hilarious comedians playing outlandish characters with a ridiculous yet genius concept as the backdrop and roasting the hell out of each other for like 5 minutes straight.
Silky mink made out of 100% rat ass!
Beautiful on the weekends does stunts for Little Richard in gay movies.
Even Ice-T is great in this, and he's just a cop-hating rapper turned cop-playing actor. It's an all-time great Chappelle Show classic, and it probably has some of the most quotable lines out of any sketch in the series. Definitely deserves to be mentioned among the greats, but I do think it's a little lacking in certain areas to be considered the GOAT sketch. It's definitely in the conversation, and it has the formula that most other top-tier Chappelle Show sketches have, but I just think that there are some that do it slightly better. There's also the Trading Spouses interracial sketch. This is another one of those sketches with a great concept and great execution of that concept, but it's this high on my list for one reason and one reason only. Leonard motherfucking Washington.
G-Unit!
Get your ass in the car. Anybody try to touch your mother? Punch him in his dick. I ain't crazy. I don't need no psychiatrist. And if you ever tell anybody I've been in here, I'll fucking kill you.
It's confidential here, Leonard. I won't tell anyone. It's just between us.
Well, then confidentially, I am crazy. And I'll fucking kill you.
Easily Chappelle's most underrated character, and yes, he is just another Samuel L. Jackson impersonation, albeit a much more toned down version of the one in the beer commercial sketch. But still, this character is some of the funniest shit in the show, and definitely is the funniest aspect of this sketch. This is easily one of the best sketches from season 1, and is a pretty great sketch from start to finish. Similar to the Player Haters Ball sketch, I think it deserves to be in the conversation for which is the best of the best, but I don't think it should win that argument. And speaking of Dave and impersonations, I think the Making the Band sketch might be Dave at his impersonating best, whether it's the comically accurate depiction of Diddy, minus the baby oil, or the comically inaccurate version of Dillon from the actual Making the Band show. This whole sketch is just Dave being super funny, and while that is great to watch, I do think it's also what kind of holds this back from being the funniest sketch. It doesn't have that full cast of hilarious comedians that most of the other best sketches have. And I know some of you might actually have this in your top 5, or hell, maybe you even have it as your funniest sketch. But for me, that one element that it's missing is too big to ignore. So again, it makes the conversation, but that's about it. And then similarly to the Making the Band sketch, there's the 3 Dave sketch, which is also one of my personal favorites that deserves a mention here.
And the other day, you know what she had the nerve to say to me? That I smell like I've been at the teddy bar. So the fuck what?
Buckle up, baby.
Man, fuck you, son.
They think it's so goddamn hilarious because he just walked off with the school clothes money. It's funny, isn't it? I'm broke, nigga, I'm broke!
Plain and simple, this sketch is amazing. But again, it is just Dave being funny without much help from anyone else. And I get it, it's called The Chappelle Show for a reason, but one of the biggest reasons I ended up loving the show so much is how many other hilarious comedians the show introduced me to and showcased consistently. I spoke in my season 2 video about how much I really relate to this sketch as a grown-ass man who has lived through all of these ages, and I can kind of see myself as Dave at 18, 24, and 30. At least a little bit. And I think it's that little bit of extra sentimentality that makes me want to consider making this higher. But all in all, I just think that there are more iconic and comedic sketches in the show.
What are you going to do with all this money?
I'm going to reinvest my money into the community.
Oh, that's a very nice gesture. What were you saying?
Next is the Reparations Sketch, and if we're talking about iconicism and the legacy of the Chappelle Show, this is literally the sketch that gave us the
I'm rich, biatch.
soundbite. It was also the first sketch to introduce Tron, one of my favorite Chappelle Show characters and another very underrated character at that. It also has Dave doing whiteface as the news anchor and Dave's Al Roker parody. All of this while riffing on the forever poignant and relevant topic of reparations for American-born Black people. This sketch is truly a masterpiece in my eyes, and it has all the elements to be considered the greatest sketch of the show, but similar to the Player Haters Ball sketch, I just feel like there are other sketches that are funnier. There may not be another sketch as versatile as this one when it comes to mixing both comedy and social commentary, but sometimes being versatile isn't enough to be the best, and I think this is a pretty good example of that. I also have to mention the racial draft sketch. This is another sketch from the show that still gets referenced today on Twitter and other social media constantly, and it's a genius idea with a bunch of memorable moments and jokes that still hit today.
Pardon me. Hey, will you cut the malarkey? Okay, I'm talking. There's a white man talking up here. Silencio. Ungawa.
Is it incredibly juvenile, racist, and offensive? Sure. But it's all those things in just the right ways and in just the right amounts that makes you laugh despite it all. I think this is the first sketch I've mentioned that if someone was to say it was their favorite sketch of all time, I wouldn't argue against it that much. I still think there are better sketches, but this is a shining display of just how great the show was in its prime. The next sketch I want to talk about is actually a series of sketches combined into one entry, and that's the When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong sketches.
You're watching When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong.
I'm fitting to ride on this bitch.
That is a game, nigga.
What ensued was one of the most spectacular ass whoopings ever witnessed in the Atlantic Northeast. Viewer discretion is advised.
Side note, I really love the narrator's voice on this. Like, I wish my voice could be that deep and dramatic when I speak. I'm kind of close to it, you know? Not quite there, but close. There's only 3 of these sketches, but holy shit, are they all amazing. I honestly don't know how I would rank them against each other in a true tier list. The one where Dave goes from a rich and successful corporate worker to crashing out on his boss and losing everything might be my favorite, but the one where he gets his ass kicked by Donnell Rawlings over his girlfriend is still top tier comedy. I also can't sleep on the one with Brenda, who goes to jail over thinking that someone was sleeping with her boyfriend. The narrator's voice is perfect, the punchlines all hit, and the concept as a whole is a 10 out of 10. I just think at the end of the day, you can't have a sketch as short and one that's a part of a series be the best sketch of the show. But these sketches definitely still deserve a mention here. The next sketch I want to discuss is the Black Bush sketch. I've heard from multiple people in the comments of my Chappelle Show videos that this is actually their favorite sketch, and similarly to the racial draft sketch, I wouldn't really argue against that opinion that much. This sketch has pretty much everything that you could want in a Chappelle Show sketch. It has a great cast of characters all doing funny shit. Dave himself is pretty much at his best here as well. It's got a great mix of social commentary with witty and sharp comedy, and it's a pretty long sketch in comparison to most of the others in the show. I've always said it was an unexpectedly perfect way to end the series because it's basically a sketch depicting what it would be like if Dave got the power that he always wanted from the network, only to find out that he would still have to face the scrutiny of the people for any gross misuse of that power, which pretty prophetic for the rest of his career. It's a great sketch, but again, personally, it's not my GOAT.
As Larry, Marcy Projects. Marcy, son, what?
The next sketch I want to mention is the World Series of Dice sketch. And to me, this sketch is like the Trading Places sketch, the Racial Draft sketch, and the Player Haters Ball sketches all combined and on steroids. Non-stop hilarity, great celebrity cameos like with Eddie Griffin as Grits and Gravy, the return of Leonard Washington, and the introduction of Ashley Larry.
Go upstairs and put on some lotion. Right there. Only just to empty the trash.
This sketch is pretty much just peak goofy-ass Chappelle comedy. And I wish I could rank it as the best because I really do love it that much, but in my heart of hearts, it's just kind of too goofy and too small scale in comparison to some of the other sketches being discussed in this video. Still great though, and arguably the most underrated sketch of the show. So there are 5 more sketches that I want to talk about in this video, and if you're a fan of the Chappelle Show and have made it this far, then you probably have a pretty good idea of what those 5 sketches are going to be. Even though I do have a clear hierarchy for where I put these 5 sketches in my ranking, it should be noted that they're all some of the funniest things that I've ever seen in my life, and there's a solid argument for any one of them being the number 1 sketch. All of the other sketches I mentioned earlier are kind of interchangeable in my ranking, but these are my official top 5 sketches of the Chappelle Show.
Game. Blouses.
I was there, I seen it. You don't believe me? You think I'm making it up? You think I'm trying to, enhance the story because I'm involved?
Okay. Number 5 is the Prince Real Hollywood Story sketch. It's the weakest of the Hollywood Story sketches, and it's still in the top 5. That's how good those Charlie Murphy sketches were. I honestly think this one has the Rick James sketch beat in terms of pure absurdity, but unfortunately there's more to my ranking criteria than just that. Still though, this sketch has so many great moments and quotable lines that still get referenced in pop culture today, and the impact it had on Prince's legacy long after his musical prime and Charlie Murphy's legacy at the start of his prime really speaks volumes. At number 4, and I know some people are going to be mad this isn't number 1, I have the Clayton Bigsby black-white supremacist sketch.
Sir, listen, I'm gonna make this clear. I'm in no way, shape, or form involved in any negative.
And like I said before, there is a solid argument that this is actually the number 1 sketch. But as funny as this sketch is, and as groundbreaking as it was, there is an element of the show still trying to find itself with this sketch that's hard to describe, but I can just sort of feel it when I watch it. And to be fair, it was part of the show's very first episode, so it makes sense that it would be that way, and it probably isn't fair to dock points just for that. But this is the top of the food chain, and we gotta start splitting hairs to get things done. But make no mistake, this sketch is damn near perfect. Misdirection after misdirection, and one of the funniest ending lines in the history of television.
He filed for divorce from his wife. When we asked why, after 19 years of marriage, he responded, because she's a nigger lover.
It's well deserving of all the praise that it's gotten over the last couple of decades. For number 3, I actually have the Mad Real World sketch here. This was easily the funniest sketch of season 1 other than the Clayton Bigsby sketch, which I have just behind it. And it just feels like such an epic full-scale sketch with the amount of characters in it and its very long runtime. There's not a dull moment in the sketch at all, and every single joke lands for me. This was also the introduction of Charlie Murphy into the show, and that alone should earn it a top 3 spot, in my opinion. The part where he randomly stabs Chad's father is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life, and I basically cry laughing to this day every time I rewatch it. It's yet another damn near perfect sketch, and if it wasn't for the next 2 sketches somehow being even funnier, this would easily be the show's magnum opus.
You stabbed me! I don't know what I did!
You came in the house with 6 wild niggas, that's what you did.
But of course, there was Wayne Brady and Rick James.
Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch?
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
I mean, of course it would be between these 2 sketches. It couldn't have been anything else in my mind. These are the 2 most iconic, consistently quoted, full-belly laugh-inducing sketches in the history of the show. And despite how great most of the other sketches are, it's not really close. What can I even say about the Wayne Brady sketch at this point? It is the ultimate masterclass in misdirection and peak dark comedy that has ever existed. I must have seen this over 100 times in my life by now, and I still laugh at it every time as if it was the first time. I don't care if Wayne Brady never says another funny thing for the rest of his life. He will always be one of the funniest men to ever live as long as this sketch exists. And it's the same thing for the Rick James sketch. How do I describe what makes this sketch so much funnier than every other sketch in the show? You know it. You've seen it. There's a reason why back in the 2000s, Dave Chappelle had people yelling, "I'm Rick James, bitch," at him from across the street. This sketch literally changed the world and made Dave Chappelle a superstar, whether he wanted it to or not. But which one is better? Which one is the true, undisputed sketch GOAT of the Chappelle Show? Well, I'll say this. The Wayne Brady sketch was probably the only sketch that could have competed with the Rick James sketch if the Rick James sketch was just one sketch. But the fact that the Rick James sketch is actually an entire episode of Rick James and Charlie Murphy sketches, and all of those sketches are top tier level, yeah, nothing else can really compete. Wayne Brady is a close second, but the Rick James sketch is definitely the GOAT in my eyes. I don't think there's an objective argument that could say otherwise, but I would love to hear anyone who disagrees try to make that argument in the comments below. But that's my very long ranking of the best Chappelle Show sketches. I will get back to working on that part 3 video about Chappelle's career after the Chappelle Show ended, but in the meantime, please let me know your favorite Chappelle Show sketches that maybe I didn't mention in this video. I would love to read them and see what you guys like and don't like about my list. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.